Welcome to another episode of Gen Z in Manufacturing, a podcast where I interview young people about their journeys in manufacturing, how they intend to influence the industry, and what they are looking for from an employer. For this episode, I welcome Aleigha Schulke, a 27-year-old applications engineer for Anka CNC Machines. Schulke's interest in manufacturing began in high school when a paperwork mix-up enrolled her in metal machining classes at a technical education center. Schulke previously worked for an aerospace and defense company that used Anka cutter grinders and admitted to only briefly knowing about the company. A recruiter reached out to her about a position at Anka. After what she calls a marathon of an interview, Schulke began working at Anka as an applications engineer, where her duties consist of completing time studies for customers and potential customers, performing machine demonstrations, and teaching basic and advanced cutter grinder courses. Before we hear from Schulke, please make sure to like and share this episode of Gen Z Manufacturing. To view previous episodes, visit manufacturing.net. If you are a member of Gen Z and would like to discuss your experience in the manufacturing industry, please get in touch with me, Nolan Beilstein, at nolan@ien.com. Well, Aleigha, thank you for joining Gen Z in Manufacturing. I wanted to start off talking about how you were explaining that your manufacturing origins stemmed from a paperwork mix-up, and you originally wanted to take automotive mechanics classes at a technical education center during high school, but you were instead enrolled in metal machining classes. So what made you decide to stick with it?
Honestly, I just thought I'd give it a chance at first, and I kind of fell in love with it. I actually, at the end of my first year, was happy that that was the option for me. I preferred that instead of the automotive.
What about it just piqued your interest?
I understood it. I feel like it was easy to get a grasp on it for the metrology part of it. Especially my first year when I got into the class, it was metrology specific. It was paperwork, doing the coding for machining CNCs and stuff like that, and just seeing how much we can actually create and where it all comes from, and going home that day after school and looking around and realizing everything is manufactured one way or another. I just felt like I was part of a lot more. You know what I mean?
You mentioned that you used to work for an aerospace and defense company. What made you want to even take the interview?
I was wanting to further my career. I felt like I had hit a roadblock there. It's a very large company, so I didn't feel like I was really part of it. I felt like I was just a number. I wasn't valued, As soon as I came into here, day one, my boss had me sold, and I didn't want to leave, you know what I mean? I was ready to take that leap instantly. The family feel here is outstanding.
What was missing from your previous employment?
Specifically, just being noticed, being appreciated, just feeling like my opinion is valued. Really that. My old job, if I was a few minutes late, I was reprimanded. And at this job, I feel like, my boss has told me, don't rush, don't hurt yourself, don't speed. I want you here in one piece. Take your time if you need to. You know what I mean? I feel important here. When I came in there, they were really welcoming me. They were kind of training me already. It wasn't really quizzing me on what I knew, or, you know what I mean? They had a good feeling with me, and I had a good feeling with them, and it just instantly clicked. And
when we were exchanging emails before the interview, you said it was a marathon of an interview. What do you mean by that?
So at first I had talked to my boss for probably about an hour, just going through what my process is and what my role would be here and everything. And then I actually went out and talked to one of the engineers, the software engineer here for a little while. And then I went out and talked to the guys over even in shipping, just to get a feel of the environment and just how everybody was. And they didn't hover around and hang out just to make sure everybody said the right thing. They gave me my moment to talk to everybody alone and everything, and get a good feel for the place. And they even had customers in at the time, and even the customers were like, yeah, Anka's amazing. I'd come here if I had the chance. And, they were just, it was great, honestly. I was here for probably 2 or 3 hours altogether. I even got to sit down and talk to my president for probably a good 45 minutes of it, which was really nice. It made me feel like just like that small collective feeling. I'm gonna see him and talk to him all the time. It's not somebody I should be scared of that's in a suit, that I have to be worried about.
How did the way they conducted their interview differ from previous places you had worked at?
I guess that's kind of part of it. Some of the places that I've gone to, maybe they were, more of a quiz and what do you know, what don't you know. We didn't really get into what they did specifically. There wasn't really like the walk around the shop and talking to the people, because it's not just about like what you can do for like tasks. You gotta actually like fit in where you're at and be okay with like the people and like the environment and everything.
And the incoming workforce has so many options in manufacturing, and they become much more selective when picking jobs, than previous generations. So what should manufacturers know about Gen Z in order to capture that interest during interviews?
We want to feel like we're part of it. Like we want to feel like appreciated for what we have to bring to the table. And obviously I can't speak for all Generation Z or the younger generation, but for sure, me specifically, I just want to feel like I'm involved. I want to feel like I'm making a difference. I want to feel like my life and, like the whole company is more important than just the paycheck. I make less than I did at my old job here, and I'm a million times happier. I'd still never go back.
Do you think, or do you know any of your peers or other Gen Z people that kind of share that same mindset, that they're willing to make less if it means that they're more valued?
Yeah, absolutely. I've a couple friends that are in similar positions. They have a good head on their shoulders and they show extreme, like really good work ethic, and where they are in their companies, they're doing really, really well. I could see them being managers within the next couple of years, because they found a company that did that. They found that value in them and let them reach their full potential. I feel like here, even if I wasn't, if I didn't want to be an applications engineer forever and travel and train customers all the time, I feel like Aleigha would help me find my niche here within the company, that value. So finding a company that would do that for you and see that potential in you and want to help you grow and fulfill your own personal goals, that's key, 100%. You don't want to just be a number anywhere you go. You know what I mean? Like, it's cool, jet engines and everything for a little bit, but you start to kind of realize quality of life matters more.
What are your favorite part about your duties at Aleigha?
The customer interaction. Of course, I love my boss, hands down. So anytime I'm in the office, it's just really great. I'm always learning when I'm here. Pretty much all of it. If I describe my entire role, that'd be what I love of Aleigha, to be honest. All of it.
And how have they given you an opportunity to grow as a professional in your time there?
They push me to my full potential. I mean, even stuff like this, I wouldn't have done this a year ago, sitting here talking to you, describing my story, to somebody. I was very, I don't know, not very outgoing, you know what I mean? More of an introvert. And being here now, they kind of pushed me to, and in a good way too, not just, push you to where you're uncomfortable. They help me grow where I'm confident talking to people, in front of large groups. I've never traveled before until this job, and first time flying was here with them, and they helped me get over all of those fears. And of course, as soon as I landed, John was like, "How did it go? Are you okay? Did you make it?" So yeah, it just, I just feel like I can do so much more now, and I feel like my path isn't just one way. Like, I feel like I have options here if I needed to, if I wanted to change.
You mentioned in one of your emails that Aleigha does well to embrace non-traditional gender roles. What do you mean by that?
Well, me specifically, I am the first woman apps engineer here in the US, but since I've been hired on, John is just like, we got to get another one. We got to get more women in here. You do so amazing. And they're just really like open to it. There's never anything they're like, she can't do. There's never the guy that comes over, do you need help with that? Or anything. You know what I mean? They just, they, they let me do my thing.
Did you say you're the first female engineer that they've hired?
Yeah, first woman applications engineer. Yeah, in the U.S. They have other branches, Australia and Thailand, where there are other women applications engineers or engineers, software engineers. But for the U.S., I am the first.
So in a male-dominated industry, just like kind of what does that show that's possible for women in manufacturing, given how you're able to kind of break that barrier?
Anything's possible, really. It's really not even about gender. I mean, if you can do it, you can do it, right? Now that it's just finally we're being allowed to do that, right?
What are some behaviors or comments that men in manufacturing make to women that they think are encouraging and can be good-natured, but are actually discouraging women from pursuing a career in this industry?
Just but the one that I hear, and not from any of the guys here, of course, but is, you're really good for a woman or somebody that young even. I get a lot. For my age, I'm really good at what I do. But I just want to be good at what I do, not for my age or my gender.
And having worked with customers, it sounds like this does happen, but how often do you encounter someone that voices how surprised they are that a young woman knows as much as you do?
So almost every time, almost every single customer will, because it's always men that I've trained. I've never I've only trained one woman, and she was a Zoller engineer. But I've never trained a group of women or anything like that. So every single one of them tell me that they're surprised when I walk in the door, coming into like Air Force facilities and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And but it's not a bad way, and they don't make me feel bad about it. Usually, they're just like, I wasn't expecting that, and it's usually they don't tell me at first, but at the end of the training, they'll usually say like, "Wow, you're the best trainer I've had out of all the people that they've sent from Anka and stuff like that. Like, you're just amazing." And I've had quite a few follow-up emails sent to my president or my boss of how great I did. And nowhere was it great for a woman or for my age. It was just, she was so good and could present the information so amazing. You know what I mean? Good feedback and stuff like that.
The people that hold that belief that, they're surprised a young woman knows as much as you do, do they think that way because it just reinforces the system they grew up with, or are they consciously thinking that, women manufacturing isn't a suitable career for women? Which do you think it is?
I would think maybe more the second one. Maybe they're just used to that for so long, and they're just not used to seeing a woman in manufacturing or in the industry. I think it's more surprise. You can usually tell if it's surprise and they're like specifically targeting like your age or gender, or if they're really just impressed and surprised to see a woman. And that's it. You know what I mean? Like, not anything targeted, I don't think.
Do we need to wait for these kind of people to retire before we see more gender diversity in manufacturing, or is there a way to show the people with the closed-minded mindsets that women in manufacturing can be the norm?
I think the only way to show them is to do it. Whether it makes them uncomfortable, whether there's resistance or not, we got to do it anyway. I think that it will open up a lot more for us when we see a lot more of this group retire. But I think we're going to make it either way. I think we're going to do good.
And how can manufacturers attract young women to the industry in general?
Again, I can't speak for all women or young women, but for me specifically, it was just that warm embrace of saying, I got you. And you do me favors, I'll do you favors. We have your back, and we're family. That appreciation and the value, that just show them that. and you'll have them for your life. You know what I mean? Just appreciate them for what they are, pay them what they're worth for sure, and they're not going anywhere. To help entice maybe the younger women in the industry, give them a safe place to speak. I didn't always feel like I had that in some of my old companies, and it was really difficult. So giving them that will definitely help. It's nice being celebrated as a woman, but also we don't want that target either. We don't want, or I don't want to be focused in on for being a woman. You know, I just want to be good at what I do. Yeah, you know what I mean? So the two big things would really just be, don't single me out and make me feel safe, you know.
I've asked a lot of people who've been on this podcast about it, the best way to bridge those generational gaps between the old workers who are set in their ways and the new young talent. So do you have any ideas about how you can kind of bridge that generational gap between old and young workers?
I think that being younger, I'm more accepting to change and learning new things and different things. So I don't mind the people that the older guys that sometimes kind of butt heads, because you know sometimes they got a point, and I feel that I can deal with it and change my demeanor for that more than they can. You know what I mean? I don't really rely on them to make that connection or make that bond or that connection. I usually am just really accepting of their knowledge and emphasize to them how much I want to learn, and never is there usually like a barrier anymore. You know what I mean? Once you tell these guys that, I don't know everything, but I want to know, and I respect your knowledge, give me what you got, and they usually open right up, and that helps a lot.
Yeah, I wanted to just going back to the quality of life part. You mentioned earlier that Anka does well to make it feel like your job is not your entire life. Do you feel like that's something the manufacturing industry has embraced, or are they kind of behind in that regard?
They're behind, 100%. I've only worked at one place, Aleigha, and I say that lightly. The last place I worked sort of, started embracing that, giving people more flex hours, they would call it, for their time off and stuff like that. But honestly, out of all my manufacturing, no. Your first priority and only priority was to be there when the bell rang, punch in on that clock, and they wanted you to stay late. They didn't care what you had going on, whether you had kids at home or anything. But here, no, not at all. Not like that at all.
Do you have some peers or friends in similar fields that have critiques about that sort of thing?
Yes. Yeah. I feel like probably 80% of the people I know are in that position, and all of them being in manufacturing. Not even just manufacturing, I mean really everywhere. The only thing that it seems like is really cared about is the money and what you can produce in that short amount of time that you're there for your 8 hours or whatever. I feel like the priority hasn't changed for a lot of manufacturing.
Do you see it changing anytime soon, or is it going to take until your generation, my generation's running the show?
I think for it to fully be that way, if it ever fully is, I think it's going to be our generation for sure. The older generation has a specific way of thinking, and not to say that it's wrong. I mean, it got us here where we are, 100%, but things are different now, and people care about different things.
Thank you for watching this episode of Gen Z in Manufacturing. Please make sure to like and share the episode. To view previous episodes, visit manufacturing.net. If you are a member of Gen Z and would like to discuss your experience in the manufacturing industry, please contact Nolan Beilstein at nolan@ien.com.